This past weekend at the Nashville card show, I bought 1,521 cards. And here is a breakdown of all the cards that I bought, how much money I spent, my experience at the show, etc. I've got a lot of cards to show you guys, so we're going to jump on over right to that, and I can yap and tell you all about it while I'm showing you all of these cards. So starting off, these are actually the cards that I did a Whatnot stream with on Sunday after the show. So the reason I'm showing you guys these first, it's going to be a mixture, of course, because I try to do a little bit of everything. But showing you guys these first because I got to make sure that these get packed up and shipped out to my customers. But everything else will be in order of, the Bowman cards, the football cards. I did buy some football cards. I'm trying to load up on some inventory there. My big thing is just not going too crazy and too heavy in terms of buying inventory there. I need to learn that market a little more. I can really accurately guess in terms of what a baseball card is going to sell for. Football, I don't have that skill yet. I haven't worked and developed that information for me. So still working on that, but there are some football cards here. I did buy a lot of football cards, which you guys will see here shortly. But overall on the weekend, I spent about $7,700 on all these cards. It basically comes out to be that I spent about $5.09 per card this weekend. So when you're seeing me flip through all of these, obviously there's going to be some cards that are a dollar card, maybe not even a dollar card, but there are going to be others that will also be worth way more than a dollar. For me, ultimately, I know and I care the most about my averages. So when I talk about my averages, Whatnot can be really inconsistent, and that's where I'm selling all of these cards. You can have cards that sell for a ton, way more than comp, what they are valued at, etc. And you have cards that sell for way less. It is way too difficult when running a business like this, when running a business that's based in large volume, to really focus on and think about the specifics in terms of each individual card that you buy. At the end of a stream, I know exactly how much money I make. I know exactly on average how much the average card that I'm selling sells for. And so I use that as a marker of, am I paying too much? Am I paying too little? Or by paying too little, I normally mean, am I not buying good enough inventory? But on average, my average stream ends between $9 and $10 roughly. So to make $5 per card here for every card that I bought, generally pretty pleased with that. That's going to leave about, $3.50 roughly in terms of profit per card on average when we eventually sell these. So those were all the raw cards that I sold at the on my show on Sunday after the card show. Then we had a few slabs. We had the Churio, the Wyatt Langford, really cool Bobby Witt rookie card here on the PSA 10, Mookie on the first Bowman purple, Aaron Judge on the gold rookie for the home run derby, James Wood on the aqua pink vapor, and then the Shohei Ohtani launched into orbit. Now, when thinking about these cards, all of my averages, etc., as I said, there are some like this Hadley's probably a couple bucks in terms of a card. A lot of these I may have found in dollar boxes, some of them in value boxes. It's always really interesting because sometimes you find a card in somebody's dollar box and you also find that same card in somebody's value box where they've got a $4 or $5 sticker on it. Ultimately, my perspective on all deals generally is, do I just like the card? If I like the card, I'm going to pull it out, and then we're going to see whether or not we can work out a deal on it. It's easier to do that than say, I'm not going to buy that because I think the sticker is too high. It's always easy to pull cards out, and at the end of the day, when you put together a big enough stack, when you put together, 200 plus cards with a single dealer, they're going to be a lot more likely, especially on the value box stuff. It's definitely really hard to move that stuff at volume. Sometimes that stuff will really truly just sit there for months and months and months. Showcase cards, you're going to need to pay stronger on. You're going to need to be more close to comps because those are the nice stuff that they get people that are repackers that come through, that those are kind of the marquee cards that people like, and they tend to sell a little bit more easily. But this low end stuff, a lot of times is just stuff that people have just, sitting around. I don't want to say collecting dust, but collecting dust in a box at their house. So being able to get rid of some of these larger lots is always a really good thing that people are looking to do. And for me, I need to buy in large quantities. It's really funny. I was saying to Mrs. Clever Cuban that, I came home with, as I said, 1,500 cards. That's not even a month's worth of inventory for me. I sell about 2,000 plus cards a month. So as exciting and as cool and awesome as this is, this only floats me for so long. But in all reality, this will also float me for longer because I also buy other stuff than just at the show. I'm not relying on this show as my only source of inventory. But I know that, you know, in order to do that, in order to sell all these, it will not take me doing the Whatnot single streams that long to do so. And so what I'm showing you guys right now is, as you can see, probably guessed, all of the Bowman cards that I bought. So I sorted these out because that's how I sort them in terms of then setting up my shows into Bowman, your rookies, your vets. I just did football generically. I haven't really figured out how I'm going to manage my football inventory because I know that it's a little different. It's, you don't have the Bowman game that you're playing. You've got obviously rookies and vets. So maybe just those two kind of buckets, but then, you got the quarterback market and versus other players. So I need to put some thought into that. I'm trying to expand a little bit there, but we're going to talk about baseball first. Vladdy Guerrero, baby Vlad, well, real baby Vlad is him. Vlad Guerrero Jr. He also has a brother named Vladdy. Learned that this weekend. I didn't realize that there was another Guerrero and they named him Vladimir, which is pretty funny. But all these Bowman cards, I was looking for some Bowman Chrome just because, or especially this year's Bowman Chrome, because that's new stuff. Those new inserts sell really well, are very, very popular generally. So trying to find that. These Lunars are fairly common. However, big name players still will sell. So you grab them. I want to have a variety for my stream, as you guys know, if you guys have seen me talk about how I set myself up. But almost to the end of this first Bowman stack here, but I've also got a little bit different. I also have my slabs. I didn't grab a ton of slabs, but I grabbed a good amount, probably about one shoebox worth. But something else that I did separate out in terms of cards here, though, is I made a stack of some of the nicer stuff that is the stuff that I'm going to look at to consider whether or not I want to grade it, as well as some stuff that I pulled out that I identified when I was looking at stuff as I want to put this into my personal collection, whether it's something that I'm going to grade potentially and put in the personal collection, or if it's just going to go into the PC binder. Now we're moving on to the rookie cards, as you guys can see here. But yeah, grabbing some stuff for the personal collection, you kind of have to do it. When I'm flipping through these boxes nonstop, it's really, really easy to find stuff and just grab it, knowing that I can get stuff at such a low average. And there are deals and tables where you find a quarter box and you're grabbing stuff there. And that obviously is going to help. Then you have some stuff. There will be some cards, especially in that grading box pile, that you guys are going to say, whoa, those are some big time cards, and obviously are worth way, way more than $5. But overall, care about those averages. It's really interesting. One of the questions that I always get is, how do you determine what cards to buy? How do you know what cards to buy? And that kind of goes back to that talking about football earlier, where you kind of just have a sense. The more that you do it, the more that you sell, the more that you engage in the game, the better sense and kind of finger you can have on the pulse of what's going to sell, how well it's going to sell for, etc. It's one of the things that I always preach, and I'm very, very, intentional on, is pick something and get to be really, really good at it. When I first started doing cards, I tried to do a lot of football and basketball because football and basketball seemed to be the hotter markets. I liked baseball cards, but I was focused on the hotter markets because I thought that that's where there was going to be more money, more movement, etc. Eventually, I kind of just started to gravitate and float more towards doing the stuff that I enjoy, which is baseball cards. I still like football. I do a lot with football. I'm in a number of fantasy football leagues. I follow it. I mean, every Sunday I am enjoying 7 hours of commercial-free football on Red Zone. But baseball is always kind of going to be my number one in bread and butter. And for me, looking through a baseball box, I'm very, very quick and easy. It's honestly pretty mindless for me at this point in terms of whether or not I think a card is worth grabbing or not. And as I said, I'm a lot less worried about and focused on the sticker price that's on the card, because what I do is at the end of the deal, I'll add everything up and then I figure out where I need to be. And if I feel like that number is crazy far off, I have a conversation with the dealer. Nice Austin Wells there on that refractor, by the way. Have a conversation with the dealer. You tell them, listen, I think that, prices are a little off here or there. I don't want to be insulting to you in terms of your sticker, but I do think ultimately, not sure the last time that you priced these out, but I think that I'm off a little bit valuation-wise. Here is where your value is. I'm very, very clear on what your sticker number is. I want you to know what you're asking. I mean, you can also go, of course, go and add that up, but most guys trust me to know that I'm not gonna, you know, take the number and then cut it 20% off and then try and take another 20 to 30% off. But I put together the stack and then we work. We see what we can do. Super funny, by the way. You saw the earlier, the other green finest. This is 66. I also got 67 with the other one. So the fact that those are back to back serial number wise, but you got to go around, and the show had 800 plus tables. So going and finding the right dealers. And I got to say, guys, just because you're not at the quote unquote right table or finding the right box on the first day, there are always deals to be had. On Saturday afternoon, I found what was probably the best value box that I found at the show. Had some super good stuff. I actually posted a video with that lot and deal earlier on TikTok to just show, just a little peek at some of the stuff that I grabbed at the show. And grabbed a huge lot there, super nice, really good values. It was like 3 for $10, but then obviously because you're putting together a massive stack, you're able to get a little bit more knocked off there. But the value on that as well is more than just finding a good value box. While a good value box is obviously very valuable, what's also really valuable, a few more Bowman cards here. This was just that they didn't fit in that first stack, but now we're on to our vets here, is there's more to the value box because that relationship that you're able to make with that dealer can also be super valuable. I had 3 or 4 different dealers that I put together a big stack that said, hey, let me grab a card from you, or here's a card for us. Would love to connect. We get a lot of stuff in. I'm not a big baseball guy. The guy that had the really good baseball value box said, hey, I've got a guy who enters a ton of breaks, does a ton of stuff. I know enough in order to pick out the really nice stuff. But baseball is just not my thing. I don't know names well enough. I don't know parallels. I just don't know baseball well enough, which, hey, back to what I said. Know what you know and embrace what you like. He probably gets a really good deal from the guy that breaks all that stuff. But he doesn't know necessarily how to move it quickly, efficiently, etc., because he's not a baseball guy. And so he said to me, hey, let me get a card. I'll reach out to you after the show, and we can talk about doing some deals. Because I want to buy baseball cards in bulk, and he's got bulk that he wants to move quickly and efficiently. So finding those good value boxes, a lot of times those people who have those will continue to have good cards. And that's something that's really important to think about and recognize, that while you're sitting there going through that, I'm talking about yapping. I mean, this is going to be a video of me yapping for 15 minutes probably, going through all of these cards. But there's a lot of value to building that relationship. One of the things that is a comment that I sometimes get on some of my videos is when I post a deal that I make or whatever, and somebody says, well, yeah, you only got that deal because they know who you are. And my response a lot of the times is, well, yeah, they know who I am because I buy from them week in and week out. The value of a relationship in the hobby is so important. I know guys who would rather sell to me for 75% than they would to the guy, random dude that walks in and picks up, a $50 lot for 100%. Because how long is, for me, I come up and I buy $1,000+ worth of cards. That $50 lot is great and awesome that they were able to move that and get full comp, but moving volume is also a really good thing. There is especially as I said, on stuff like this, there is a premium to being able to move volume at a really efficient clip, especially on cheap stuff that the average person does not have the time, energy, whatever, to list each and every single one of these cards on eBay. It takes so long, and I know if you've got, Card Dealer Pro or one of these programs that will scan your cards for you, it can make a really big impact and help you with that. But still, you're going to have these cards that then are anywhere from, $2 to $20 cards generally that will sit on eBay for the next year potentially. Whereas the value of moving it today, one of the things that we talk a lot about is the value of getting the sale and letting it move. You don't have to grade everything. I'm going to grade some of this stuff for sure if it's gradable, but there is value in being able to turn things over, being able to say, hey, I bought this card and I sold this card. I bought this card and I sold this card. The return on investment can be so much greater than getting a PSA 10 or whatever. If you can buy and sell a card 5 times, if you can make, 15% on every single raw card that you're buying and selling, that stacks up, that interest compounds. And the value proposition for that interest compounding for a lot of these dealers, especially the guys that do this, whether they have a card shop, whether they are, just a dealer who goes to shows all the time, there is value for them in just being able to sell that card and move on to the next one. One of my favorite sayings is, you're never going to go broke taking a profit or making a profit. Super cool. This is the retail super, super short print. Not numbered, but it's like supposedly out of like 5 or 7. I don't know. Stuff with Panini because they don't give you pack odds or anything where you can't calculate it. And if it's not numbered, how do you know how short printed it is? Your guess is as good as mine. But regardless, some really cool patches here. You got Eric Decker, Demaryius Thomas, and Tim Tebow, Julio Jones, Randall Cobb, and Torrey Smith on there. Tebow and Demaryius Thomas as well. Just those are cool throwbacks. I know there will be some Tebow and Broncos collectors that like that. But the ability to move stuff at volume, it makes a big difference. They like to be able to move on to the next card. If you're making a profit, cool. Of course, don't unnecessarily leave a ton of money on the table. If somebody comes in and they put together a huge lot, don't say, okay, great, I'm going to give it to you for 40% just because you were able to move it quickly. But if you know that you're into it and you know that the number that they're offering you is one that is fair, reasonable, and you're able to make a profit on, generally most guys will say, okay, cool, I'm going to take the win and I'm going to move on to the next card, the next deal, etc. Especially with this low-end value stuff, because they, a lot of times, would rather move and put this stuff, the money that is invested in these cards, into bigger, more liquid cards that are easier to sell. So for me in my business, it works really, really well to buy this lower end stuff. I do kind of want to start getting into a little bit, I'm in the like $2 to $20 range for the most part in terms of raw. I think that it'd be nice to get, up to the $50 range as we kind of start to scale the business here. Maybe take on some more risks, etc. But I think that buying the stuff at a big volume definitely helps and makes a big impact. Now for the football volume, this is a little bit more me taking shots in the dark. I know enough players. Awesome one here. I highlighted this on the opening day of the show. To the point of don't try and do everything. If you try and do everything, you're going to be a master of none. That is true. But also know enough to be dangerous. Know enough to be able to identify what players are good. Know enough about sets, things like that. You don't need to know every single short print, super short print. I couldn't tell you out of, Phoenix, what is a case hit versus what's an insert. Out of Topps Chrome, or Topps Composite, excuse me. I couldn't tell you what's a case hit versus an insert for football cards like that. But I know enough to know the big players. I know enough to know enough about just like the general market. And I'm still learning what, is this Aaron Rodgers a $2 card or a $6 card? I don't know. We'll find out. I know what sticker was on it, but that doesn't really necessarily do or mean a ton for me. I mean, that was in a dollar box. Again, knowing enough to be dangerous. I know that these rookie kings are case hits. It's Davis Mills. I also know enough to know that Davis Mills is, a backup, nobody, etc. There was a brief moment where he had some hobby hype, but in general, he's not really somebody who is sought after. But for $1 an optic case hit, I figure I can probably make a few bucks there if I had to guess. But knowing enough to be dangerous, but picking and choosing where you are, I don't know why I bought that. Going through them, I don't know if I thought that it was, I bet you that I thought it was Devonta Smith. That's probably what happened. Saw the rated rookie. I know that Devonta Smith is that year. I probably thought that was Devonta, but Kenneth Gainwell, he's not really anybody to write home about. So, but that's kind of, again, knowing that and being able to flip through and, if I realized that it was Kenneth Gainwell, I wouldn't have bought it, but that's fine. But learning football, trying to get my feet wet here. Moving on to our second box here, I do have some more football here. I did buy a lot of football, as I said. Probably about 300 cards, probably just under that. And granted, that's going to be, 2 streams, maybe 3 streams probably, which is not a ton. But as I said, I want to use that football knowledge that I know enough to go and grab some guys like Kendre Miller. I know that the Prism Orange Wave is out of 60. I know that's low number. And I own him in my Dynasty League. I know that he's got some potential to maybe when Alvin Kamara is done or the Saints move off of him to do something. Who knows? It's a risk, but for $3, why not? But I don't want to go too heavy and all in on football just because I'm not as confident on this. I have no problem dropping, I mean, at $5 a card, 300 cards, it's, 1,500 bucks on football. That's not, is that right math, right? Yeah, I think so. It's not crazy, but I also don't want to go too heavy because I don't know the market well enough in terms of the sports card side of things to be really, really confident on what's going to sell for what. So what each of these does, awesome Bijan silver there. What this does do for me, however, is this is going to be 300 new data points. And how I'm going to run this and how I'm going to think about these is I'm going to go in and when I set these shows up for baseball, I don't need to do this, but when I pre-list all of this stuff for football, I'm going to do a rough estimate in my head, and I'm going to say, you know what, I think that's a $6 card. That's probably going to sell for $5. This is maybe a $7 card, $4 card, etc. Give guesses on what I think it's going to sell for, add that all up, and then at the end of the show, see how accurate I am. Again, we're playing the averages game. I don't care about on a per card basis, but on average, how close can I be to what I think all these football cards are going to go for? Now, that's most of our football cards. There's still a few left that might be personal collection cards or stuff that we're going to look at for grading, but we're back into vets for baseball now. I tend to buy more vets than rookies and Bowman, mainly that I know and tend to look at and think that my audience is a lot of times people that are buying for their collections. And while a lot of people like rookies, the upside of rookies, etc., awesome salve here, by the way, numbered out of 70. Cool dollar box find. While, everybody likes rookies, the new hot thing, these are the guys that get collected. This is a card. This sold on the Sunday stream. You saw a duplicate of this for like $18. It's probably not an $18 card, but one of the things that people don't give enough credit to and think about is there are a lot of collectors in the hobby. And the hobby didn't used to be this hyper-focused comp world where it's, well, the last one did this, so I can do this. If everybody's paying under comp, everything's going to go to zero. A lot of the guys that come into the Whatnot streams are guys that like to collect. They know who they like, and a lot of guys collect veterans because those are the guys that they've been following for a while. They know that they're really good players, etc. So I tend to buy more vets just because of that. Big name guys, I know that they will sell decently well, but a lot of times it's not about the getting the best deal. It's about just, is it a fun card for my collection and do I like it? Most people don't have the time to put in as many hours as I do, or maybe as you do, on baseball cards. If you are somebody who does this on the side, is hoping to maybe take a, just a little side hustle, you're not even trying to make it a full-time gig like I'm doing right now. You and I spend significantly more time on baseball cards than the average person does. They care about grabbing a card that they like, think is cool, and they want to add to their collection. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how the hobby used to be. It didn't used to be that hyper. This, by the way, this stack we have now moved into personal collection stuff. So this is all stuff that I'm keeping for the PC generally. So it didn't used to be that. It used to be that you would, go to a card show and buy a card because you liked it, not because it was worth X amount of dollars or whatever. Like this one, I like this card. I thought that seemed a little expensive. It's really worth like $10. I paid $10 on it. I didn't care because Alex Rodriguez was a guy that I collected as a kid. Thought he was awesome. My name is Alex. His name is Alex. I thought that was the coolest thing ever as a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, whatever. But all this stuff is PC stuff that I'm like, I really like this. I'm a Seahawks fan. Luke Kuechly went to Boston College. Matt Ryan went to Boston College. So just stuff that, I'm interested in collecting and enjoy. But these cards, again, to the point, I don't mind. I have no clue what some of these go for. In theory, on average, I'm into these for an average of $5 a piece. Now where you guys are going to say, wait a minute, $5 a piece. This is the nicer stuff that I was able to grab. These next 3 stacks that you guys are going to see, 3 in a little bit because I got some football, are what I'm going to look at to see if it's worth grading. So Bobby Witt, this should have a rookie card logo on it. This is an error card. But all these cards are ones that I said are at least worth considering. I know that I have some that I can send out to PSA and SGC, some that I will send out to Arena Club. But all of this stuff, really cool Mike Trout on that early heat wave. What year is that? That is 2014. Derek Jeter on the case hit, Babe Ruth case hit, all stuff that is worth considering for grading. Now, some of this stuff I may look at, and I am really strict when it comes to grading. If I am not very confident that it will get a 10, I just ignore it. Oil Spill, Encarnacion Strand, see what happens with him. Yamamoto, great Game 7 from him on the mini diamond. One of the bigger cards we bought over the weekend, the Gunner Spotlights Gold Rookie. This one was sweet. I was flipping through a value box. It had like, $3 to $10 cards, and then that one popped up, and I was like, excuse me? I paid full comp on that one. And we worked through it and went through the value box and the deals and kind of broke it out in terms of what did I grab from your dollar box. I love this parallel, the reptile skin or snake skin. I don't know. It's a cool one. Aiden Miller on the gold. But when I went through it, the guy basically, that's the variation on Jackson Churio here. He was like, listen, I will get to your number in terms of all of the like cheap, $2 cards, $3 cards, whatever. But I need you to get to my number on the Gunner. That's the best that I can do. And the Gunner's a cool enough card, and back to my point of big cards tend to be easier to find a buyer on around comps. I was fine to pay comps there. That's no problem. So that was one that I paid, I think, $200 on. These skeins were a part of that as well. He wanted to be at $20 a piece. I wanted to be at 10. I said, hey, on the skeins, make it 10, and I'll buy the Gunner at full ask. So really cool on this All-Star Game variation of Holiday there. And, I mean, most of these cards are nothing crazy. Really sweet on the Caminero green. You see a lot of the spotlights. You guys know that I like those. But a lot of these are nothing crazy, but they are all, in my opinion, this was a, like, $8 card. I couldn't believe that. Matt McLean, people are sleeping on him. But a lot of these aren't crazy, but they are, in my opinion, at least worth looking at to see if they're worth grading. Got the Harris on the gold. Sawyer Gipson-Long, he got hurt, but he was awesome to start the year for the Tigers. Jordan, I actually grabbed these pristines, all of those except for the Michael Harris from my guy Juice over at Loot Box. Julio Rodriguez, he said he's been entering some baseball breaks, but he's not a huge baseball guy, so he wanted to just unload on me. Gave me a good deal. I bought some solid stuff. Bunch of no-name autos as well, so some solid stuff, though. Can't complain for sure. It's the last stack of baseball for the grading potential pile. And again, just because I decide not to grade some of these cards does not mean that they are not gradable. These technically were out of the Cosmic box, and these PCAs I bought online. But, I mean, these are still super nice. These are all, it's my grading pile, so PCAs I bought online, and the Cosmic I ripped. But I kind of viewed that as a part of the show because it was a part of my show experience. Ohtani on the All-Star Game foil variation. Such a cool one. Some of these I'll decide to grade. Some of these I may say they're clean, but it's just not worth spending the money to grade them as well. So we'll see. It's all about how much risk tolerance I have. That Jordan rookie is sweet. The Air Jordan, I don't know if that's a like regular insert or whatever, but I know there are some Astros guys that will like that. These Acuñas sell really well. I think it's just such a cool picture of him. So I grab those anytime that I can. Kutch out of 25. Julio on the All-Star variation as well. So we'll see what happens with some of these. Some of these I will grade. Some of these I'm sure I won't. But it's going to be fun to go through these. This was an unexpected one. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton on the Atomic Mirror image. I was like, oh, that's a really cool card. Like, regardless, they're teammates right now. It's a fun one. But I don't know if you guys can see here. That is 2017. So that is Judge rookie year. So grabbing a rookie year card, really cool. Ellie on the refractor. Riley Green, that was like $20. I bought that right after the Tigers lost, though, so we'll see. Sedon on the orange out of 25. Ellie Gladiators, PCA Gladiators. So some really nice baseball stuff. Hoping some of it is gradable. Time will tell. We will see. This is some of the football grading. It's a very small pile, but I basically just went through and grabbed stuff that I thought looked cool and might be maybe worth sending off. I don't know. I'll look up some comps. Kyler at a 75. Decent. This one I actually got from somebody as a just like, hey, I know that you were looking this for a friend. here is this for free. I didn't have to buy this. I bought some other stuff from him, of course, but I'm going to see if this is worth grading to give to said friend who is trying to grab some Zayflower stuff before I send it off to him. So that's the grading stuff. Now we got to hop on over briefly to our slabs. And now I say briefly, there's still a lot of slabs here for sure, but compared to everything else, this is going to be way briefer. Most of these slabs were basically bought in, I think, 2 or 3 deals. I have a few guys who I know buy a lot, grade a lot, etc., and they basically just pull out their cases of graded cards and just say, hey, go through. I take out some stickers like I've shown you guys that I do in the past. I comp them, and I basically say, here's what I think that they are worth. Here's what I can pay you on them, and we come to a deal. I love it as well. I'll say this, when people tell me no, I put a sticker on it, and if they disagree with the value or they think they can get more in the future, tell me no. I tell you what price I think that market is and what I think that I can reasonably value it at. But if you value it for more, truly, tell me no. Because just because I'm a firm believer, and just because some other bozo wanted to sell that card at that price doesn't mean that you should or do as well. Awesome PC card here on the Soto profiles. Gotta grab some PC stuff, regardless, at a big show like that. You never know when you're going to see cool stuff. But, I mean, this Corbin Carroll, I think I got that for like $8. That's one of those that, like, is it a big card? No. Is it? Am I going to make a ton of money on it? Probably not. It's probably going to sell for 10 to 12 bucks, but still, it's a cool one, and $8 for a slab you can't go too wrong with. Speaking of Corbin, nice gold. Roman Anthony there, Adley. These are some nicer ones. You think this stack of 8 was my, like, 8th favorite that I had. This Mike Trout on the Players Weekend nickname variation, it's a pop 6. Really cool card there. That judges out of 99. That Justin Crawford had like a $20 sticker on it. Seemed cheap for Justin Crawford. He's a really solid young prospect for the Phillies. Louder. Bryce Eldridge had a fantastic year. That Jordan's out of 25. Julio again. All this stuff was just a big stack that I built with a few different sellers to just see whether or not they do it. Slabs are a little harder for me. I love slabs because people love slabs. The market loves them. I do one every 10 cards basically on stream. But it's also harder because you got to pay higher on them. And these hurt my averages. If you take out the slab deals, I mean, there's like 75 slabs, I think, roughly. And I think that I probably spent, I don't know, $2,000 on slabs, close to it. So you take those out. But granted, those are considered in my averages. So, but if you did take those out, my averages on all this low-end stuff would be way better. But that $10 average is inclusive of slabs. So that is every single card. You guys have seen it. As I said, I spent like $7,700. I've got the exact number here. Hang on. $7,742 at the card show this weekend. Let me know what you guys think. How do you think we did? All of this inventory will eventually be available and whatnot. Some of it, as I said, may get sent off to grading. Some of it may not. But regardless, I appreciate you guys hanging in here and listening to me yap for however long this video ends up being. It's always fun showing you guys kind of behind the scenes and everything that I grabbed at the show this weekend. Can't wait for the next big one. Not really sure what next big show I'm going to get to, but it'll have to be somewhat soon because, as I said, this inventory is only like less than a month's worth. So we're going to need to buy more very soon, but it's always fun. Getting to go to a show and buy stuff is the dream. It's so much fun. It is really just a great time. So I appreciate you guys engaging, tuning in, all that jazz. Catch you in the next one.